let's take a look at this draft class, which I had mixed feelings about. I think the first pick, you start off, you go out, you get Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. He's my favorite of the traditional top wide receivers out there in this draft. Obviously, my rankings were a little bit different. I had Hyatt as my number one. I had Charlie Jones as my number two. I just loved those guys. But Zay Flowers came in at wide receiver 4 for me. Big fan of Zay Flowers' game. I think he gives you kind of that electricity that I was saying that the Chargers could have hit on, but they chose a guy that I don't think really diversifies the room. I said it. They kind of already have that guy already on the roster, Mike Williams. So the Ravens, they're about speed, my guy. They're all about speed. You go out, you get him. Rashad Bateman ran a really fast 4.3. You got Devin Duvernay. You got Tylan Wallace. You got Nelson Aguilar. You got Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, even the guys that probably won't play, like Mike Thomas and Prochet, they got plenty of speed. Andy Isabella. I mean, just this training camp is just going to be a blur. Like, I feel bad for cameramen because it is going to be hard to capture any of these guys on camera.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about it, you saw the draft, right? Zay Flowers, as soon as he finished, he called Odell Beckham. So they're both excited. I think that's big time when it comes to Lamar Jackson, giving him weapons. That's what he needs. I mean, Flowers, you talk about just his gameplay in general, Jake. I think you saw the Antonio Brown comp, just the way he moves left to right, the way he stops and starts. So Zay Flowers, a great addition there. And he can play special teams as well. And I know I always talk about this, Jake. You don't want your first rounder playing special teams, but maybe later down the line when he gets to the Odell phase, he can jump in and play special teams. But Zay Flowers, he can do it all. Lamar Jackson should be happy about being the highest paid quarterback in the league, finally, and thank you. And then having a weapon like Zay Flowers come in and support him. So you mentioned Zay Flowers being one of the favorites. He is mine as well. I mean, he's been all over the NFL social media pages. He's just becoming a fan favorite, Jake. And I think one of the better stories coming out of this draft was Zay Flowers going to the Ravens from Boston College. We played Boston College a lot at Syracuse. So a lot of rivalry between that school, but a lot of love seeing Zay Flowers go there.
Yeah, and this is a guy, stands at 5'8", 5'9". Doesn't really matter because he plays bigger than he is. I think that's a big thing that shows up on tape when you watch Zay. He's a good route runner, guy that can stop and start. He's got good agility, yards after the catch. He's got it all. But the thing that I need Ravens fans to know is that he's not a gadget guy. Because, no. I mean, I guess in a sense he can have those gadget plays drawn up for him. But he's not just a guy that is fast, short. I've seen a lot of that. And I just want to make sure that people know what you're getting in Zay Flowers. He's more filled out, and he's got ferocity. And you see that, with his tenacious blocking style. This guy's going to throw you to the ground. He wants you to know that, he takes blocking seriously. So you just got to love it. Anytime a guy like that who's shorter, I mean, myself, I'm the same size pretty much as Zay Flowers, obviously not as muscular, but I'm about 5'8". So, to see those short kings, doing their work, got to appreciate it, man. The heart of the lion in that guy. So I'm a big fan of this pick. I love that, Lamar gets another speed threat. And this guy, he can beat you over the top. He can beat you with the bubble screen. He can beat you with the slant. You got to look out for him because you have, if you're focusing too much on him, you got Odell. If you're focusing too much on Odell, you got Rashad Bateman. You got Nelson Aguilar over the top. I mean, a lot of speed. That's going to be this offense. And don't forget about, Mark Andrews, who is one of the best, tight ends in football. So, look, what I'll say to this, Cam, is that we talked about a little bit. I see a little Antonio Brown in Zay Flowers. I know you agreed with me last time. I think the Ravens got the closest thing in the draft to Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and with them, with Hollywood Brown leaving, right? Antonio Brown's cousin, you get Zay Flowers. So you see the lineage there. Someone in that front office enjoys the way Antonio Brown plays, loves the way Hollywood Brown plays, and also Zay Flowers, that type of player, that 5'9", feisty you mentioned, can block on the edge. And Jake, I mean, I bet you put these guys on special teams, they'll go and tackle somebody, right? Put them in as safety, they'll go and tackle somebody. These guys, they can do pretty much anything for the team. So having a guy like Zay Flowers catching the football on the other side of Odell Beckham, that's what you want. So
can return too. So, you're talking, I'm not saying I'd want him to. I invested a first round pick in him. I got a 5th-year option. But hey, I got a 5th-year option, so if it doesn't work out, I guess, whatever. All right. So Zay Flowers, we both really like the pick. What do you
Yeah.
think about Trenton Simpson? Because they didn't have a second rounder. They get Trenton Simpson with the 86th pick, the linebacker out of Clemson. You're a linebacker guy. When I
Yeah.
watch Trenton Simpson's tape, he's one of the best linebackers in this draft. I think he's better than the Lions linebacker that they, in my opinion, a little bit reached for. This is better value. Regardless if you like Simpson or not, this is very good value from Harbaugh's crew. I think this is a really nice job by the Ravens to go out and we're going to get the best player available, probably on their board at this point. 86, Trenton Simpson is a second-round talent.
Yeah, I mean, 6'2", 235, ran a 4.43. That's Jake. That right there is just dangerous in itself. You just talk about his numbers there, and then playing at Clemson. He playing at a high clip at all times, right? Clemson is always, when it comes to the playoffs, they're always in the playoffs, either in a bowl game or a championship. So to have a guy with this caliber, going to a team like the Ravens is exactly what they need. So I like it a lot with Trenton Simpson, having him come in and fill some holes up, right? Fill some holes up and chase down that football. When you talk about a 4.43 speed linebacker, that's guys getting faster, Jake, at this point. I'm just seeing these numbers and guys are just getting faster and faster. So a guy like Trenton stepping in for the Ravens and getting the ball back from Lamar, that's it. Any defensive guy right now for the Ravens or just any of these teams with a premium quarterback, just figure out how to get that football back to the guy, behind the center, so he can score some touchdowns and win you some football games. So a guy like Trenton Simpson, any linebacker, to be honest, out of Clemson, are high caliber linebacker. So I love the pick there in Trenton.
Yeah, no, I think when you look at the linebacker room, I mean, it's stacked. You got Roquan Smith, you got Patrick Queen, you got Malik Harrison. Now you had Trenton Simpson in there. So, I think when you add a guy like that to that defense, now you have some flexibility, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the Ravens play more of that like 4-3 style defense. So, you also have Tyus Bowser, right? You got that rush edge somewhat. They're kind of a multiple defense, I would say. So, with Trenton Simpson, this is the best player available pick. And some will say, why are you at another linebacker here? Gives them flexibility in those negotiations, my guy. It does. So, I mean, I think that's fair to say. Now moving on, Tavius Robinson, 124. Did you mention him as a sleeper? I thought you did, but I could be mistaking it for another player.
Yeah, it might be a different
probably
one.
Jalen Jones. I think probably.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Tavius Robinson shows up on tape. I had him as a late, day 3 guy, but I like the player. I just think this is a little early. I don't know if I would pick him here.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's 6'6", 257. So a little light, Jake, want to be a little bit heavier. But hey, like you said, they picked him at the end of the day. It seems like they're beefing up their defensive players when it comes to the Ravens. Like I said, if you get signed to play defense here, get Lamar the football. And so that's really what Robinson's going to be tasked for is really just getting that football. I know when it comes to his pass rush, that's something that we want to increase. Just that arsenal when it comes to his different moves. Sometimes he can be a little bit linear, so we want to have him be a little bit more dynamic in his pass rush. But when it comes to the Ravens, just in general, you got a linebacker behind him and Trenton Simpson who can run to the football, right? And you got a guy like Tavius. So playing football in the Ole Miss SEC ball, you're battling each day, and so to get a guy like that to come into the Ravens. And just apply that experience that can be a win-win only for the Ravens. So I like it there in Tavius Robinson. And then I know, for the Ravens, they got some cornerbacks as well. They got some more defensive guys. So it seems like it was a balanced draft there for the Ravens, Jake. Nothing too crazy. Of course, you got Zay Flowers, but also, some picks that are kind of just right there, right what you needed. And I think the Ravens did a great job. Like I said, just finally locking in Lamar. That was the story of the draft, really, is locking in Lamar. So now they kind of get guys in who can help support Lamar Jackson. So I think Robinson will be able to come in and, like I said, get that football back for Lamar.
Yeah, and in the 5th round, they go and they add Caillou Blue Kelly, 157, really smart, instinctive quarter. out of Stanford. I had a fifth, sixth round grade, late fifth, early sixth. So this is about where I expected him to go. But I think the big one that stands out, Andrew Voorhees definitely adds something for fans to be excited about for the future. So that's really good news. I'm happy for him. As a guy that watched him on tape, I thought he could play tackle or guard. So you get that versatility in that room, and he can redshirt this year. Obviously, he's probably going to have to, but you have guys like Ronnie Stanley, you have Ben Cleveland, you have Tyler Linderbaum, who they got last year in the first round, Zeitler, Morgan Moses. I would have thought they would go out and get maybe an offensive tackle to compete with Morgan Moses, but I don't mind sticking with the, just the veteran, I know what he is type of guy at right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, my man Jake Voorhees, he had 38 bench press reps at the combine. Like, come on, man, that's Jake. So when I had a chance to do the bench press, I had did about 29 or so, right? And that's a lot for a linebacker, but to have an offensive lineman do 38, that means that man's packing a punch. So, we talked about his injury there. That is unfortunate, but the fact that he got cleared, that's a blessing. And he put up 38 on the bench press. Like, a fast 40 is great, but a guy that strong can't be ignored. So you have to Bleav that he's going to attack his rehab, right? If he attacks the weight room like that, he's going to attack his recovery like that as well. So, the Ravens should be confident that he'll be able to bounce back and get things going there. So, Voorhees, he's going to be able to recover. You mentioned having that red shirt type year, so he'll be able to bounce back and get things moving along. So I like the pick there in Voorhees. We're going to probably call him the strongest man in the draft, because I don't know if anyone else has benched 225 38 times. So that's really dang impressive.
And the fact that they get him in the seventh round, it's exactly where you want to get him. There's no risk, a lot of reward there. I mean, guy that a lot of people saw was the second round talent, and I think it's going to be a great pick. I think it's going to pay off dividends. I trust the coaching staff over with the Ravens. They got a good, number of guys that are developing in that offensive line room. Was a big fan of Ben Cleveland, who they drafted in the third round a couple of years back. So, I'm a big fan of this pick, and overall, I'm going to give the Ravens a solid B. I think really what it comes down to is when you look at the draft. Obviously, you have to keep in mind they gave up that pick that they did for Roquan Smith, but I love the Zay Flowers pick. I like the Trenton Simpson pick a lot. Tavius Robinson was a little high. Caillou Blue-Kelly was right about the same, I would say, like where I would expect him to go. Lalu, who I'm not even going to try to pronounce, out of Oregon, the tackle, I don't really know too much about. I mean, I think he's a solid player from what I've seen. And then Voorhees was a great pick. So I'll give it a B. I feel like it could have been stronger, but it wasn't a bad draft by any stretch. And I think maybe I would give it more of a B plus just because of the trade with Roquan Smith. I think that's fair. So I'm going to stick with B plus.
Yeah, no, I'm going to bump it up to a B plus as well.